How y'all doing? Y'all ready for this? Let me answer that for you. No, you are not. You are not. I'm just kidding. Hey, listen, we're doing world religions, false religions, and the reason is I get asked about it, and I'm just going to reiterate it one time. I know, someone says, listen, man, you just talk about Jesus and don't worry about all that other stuff. Well, that's kind of stupid. Because every epistle that was written to false teachers. Not to false teachers, to people about false teachings. Like, that's what spurred it, right? All the books in the Bible. I'm ripping a bunch of pages out of my notes, and if you want to see them later, you'll understand why. It's because it's so chaotic, I can't flip through all of them. I think I got 7 or 8 pages, and it's cray-cray, okay? It is what it is. Now, Scientology. That's where we're at. Scientology. We're also going to do Christian Science. I got to ask about that at some point. We're doing Christian Science. All right, we'll talk about that. The distinctions, they're not the same thing. We're also going to talk about the modern church. The modern American church. That's going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about the health and wealth seeker, not the seeker stuff, the health and wealth, name it, claim it stuff that has swept the nation and the globe in a lot of ways. And we're going to discuss all that stuff. So I'm excited about that. But today is Scientology. So what you need to know about Scientology, let me start with this. They got a net worth of $1.7 billion. They own about $1.5 billion in real estate. An annual revenue of about $200 million. And somewhere between 8 and 15 million members worldwide, but those are their statistics, so there's no telling exactly how accurate those are. But 8 to 15, that's a pretty big window. That's like saying I got somewhere between 2 and 4 children. Right? Pick one. It's not the same thing. So what's going to happen if you go to, so you're walking down the street and you see this beautiful thing with this cross thing with a star in the middle. Interesting how badly they want to be associated with real religion. So they have a cross, right? They use it. So you're walking down the street and you peer in this little window and it's so beautiful and everything. And you're like, Scientology, I want to check this out. So here's what's going to happen. You walk in and you go, listen, I am interested in Scientology. I want to know more. Right? And they're going to go, well, we have this thing. It's really about bettering yourself and just getting in touch with, the real you. And so you can be successful. That's what you're going to hear. And you're going to go, okay, maybe. Sounds interesting. Tom Cruise does it. It can't be all that bad. Okay, right? And so you're like, I'm going to try it. So here's what happens. If you were to walk into a service for Scientology, I watched one, the whole thing. All right? Here's what's going to happen. There's somebody who's going to get up and he's going to say, repeat after me. I'm not making this up. These are entry-level stages in Scientology. And he's going to say, this is my hand. And everyone says it with him. Right? This is my hand. Everybody says, this is my hand. This is my arm. This is my arm. This is my arm. My head sits on my shoulders. My head sits, you can laugh, it's okay. My head sits on my shoulders. And everybody says that for a long time. My head sits on my shoulders. And then I allow my head to sit on my shoulders. And everyone says, I allow my head to sit on my shoulders. And I was watching this and I was like, must be a warm-up. Right? Right. It's like, my head sits on my shoulders. We ready to talk about something real? Let's talk about something real. No, that was it. Why do they have services? We'll get to that later. Right? So you might come in there and you go, okay, I want to be a Scientologist. This is something they're going to get me in touch with and help me. And so you'll come up and you'll go, okay, what is it that Scientology is going to do for me? And here's what you'll hear. There are negative experiences in your life. We all have negative experiences. They may be pain, physical pain. It may be emotional pain, right? But this pain stays with you in your subconscious. So you have an analytical mind. And you have basically, I'm trying to remember the right term, but it's like a passive mind, which essentially is your subconscious mind. Now, your analytical mind is what you actively make decisions with. But your passive mind, your subconscious mind, is what really decides how you live your life and how successful you are. Okay? And negative experiences and painful experiences, every one of them get stuck in your subconscious mind. All right? So if I fall and I scrape my knee, it gets stored in my subconscious mind, and my subconscious mind is bleeding into my analytical mind, my conscious mind, and that's why I make the decisions that I make. So, Scientology has come up with the way for you to get rid of all of those bad things that are in your subconscious mind through this state-of-the-art, genius technology of our e-meter. Our e-meter is kind of like a lie detector test. And if you'd like to try Scientology, you're going to do something called auditing. And what auditing is you're going to sit in a room with our trained professionals that have been through hundreds of hours of training. And you're going to hold on to these two cans. There's really no other word for it. They're just cans. Now, remember when you used to play that game where it's like, hey, tie a string from one can to the other, right? And I'll call you a dirty name and see if you can hear it. That was our version. Maybe it was different for you, right? Right? But they're cans, and they're hooked up to the e-meter. And the e-meter, what it does is you're going to sit across from your auditor, and the auditor is going to ask you to tell a story from your past. Tell me about the sad thing that happened. Tell me about that time that you scraped your knee. And if you say something that has negative attachment in your subconscious mind, the needle is going to jump. I know. So what happens is you tell the story, the needle jumps, and the auditor goes, tell me that again. Tell me that story again. And you're going to tell it again, and then we're going to watch the needle jump. And if the needle jumps like this, that means that this is weighing you down, and it's attached to your subconscious mind and is affecting your conscious analytical mind, and it's affecting what you're doing. And so through the only process in the world that knows and has the technology able to help you, you can go clear. It's called clearing. Okay? So you can go clear of these negative things that have happened in your past, and that is going to spur you to find out who you truly are. And through this process of going clear, you can get rid of these things, and you can climb the Scientology ladder. And every step of the way, every step, you're going to go to a new level of clearness. And then you will be able to function in society and in the world the way you were intended to, where you can control Merc. Merc? Is that what it's called? Matter, energy, I might have used the wrong thing. They've got a lot of things. Where you can control I don't remember what it was. I had it written down anyway somewhere. Air, the weather, life, energy, matter. You can find out exactly who you are in that, and then you will be able to control it. So if you can get to the level 8 in Scientology, then the benefits of that or that you can control people from a distance because you are in touch with who you are and in touch with everything around you, the matter, the energy, and all of that, and you can actually control people and what they do. So if you want to have the success in your life that you want to have, you have to go clear, and it's only possible through hundreds of hours of auditing, but that's fine because it's only $800 an hour. The auditing is only for the low price of $799.99. For the rest of your flipping life, you can go clear. So you start with level 1. So you come in and you go, I want to try this thing, and it's all right because level one, and I'm going to give you the background of this. I want you to know what you're going to get if you show up, okay? I'm trying to establish that. Level 1 is only $27.50. It's fine. you can join our church for only $2,750. I want you to know that as I've studied this, I've taken notes, okay? We're going to be paying rent for years. All right, so once you've gone through a certain level of auditing and you've reached the first level of clear, you can go to level 2. These first 2 levels we're pretty open about. We're bettering ourselves. It's self-help. You have pain and damage attached to you from your past. Remember what Dad said to you? You need to go clear. Remember that time your brother sat on you and spit on your head? Hold on to these cans. We're going to help you go clear. Right? we have an e-meter in the back for any of you that need help. Now, if you get done with level 1, here's what will happen. If you go, listen, I just paid my almost $3,000 and I went through level 1 and I don't feel any different. You know what they tell you? You need to go to the next level. It'll all start making sense. But it's okay because you can do level 2 for the low price of $5,225. Now, these are very, very essential. Now, we're pretty open about this, right? So now we're going to go clear even more. Like this is just another level of auditing, right? First of all, I don't know how you build a religion based on reminding people of their taxes, right? You know what I'm saying? Like auditing, could you come up with something else? But we got an auditor. The auditor is going to sit there and ask you questions. He's incredibly trained and he can read the e-meter. He's been trained to read the e-meter. Now, then once you get through that and you've only parted with like 10 grand, no big deal. You need this. These are secret truths. You're going to go to level 3. Now, wait. You have to be invited to level 3. Okay? Invitation only. Now, it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, but you got invited. It's fine. All right? In level 3, if you are so blessed that you're auditing and you're going clear, you're just so super clear, you're vising clear, and you get to go to level 3. For those of you who are upset that I'm making fun of Scientologists, buckle up. Okay, so you're going clear. Now, you're super clear, vising clear, and you got invited, right? Now, you go in. Now, here's the deal. Nobody can go in. When you get to level 3, you are getting the packet that only those who have been invited get the packet. You walk in and they give you a briefcase that is locked, a locked briefcase, and you are about to get the secrets of the universe. Nobody can go in there with you on your journey. Because level 3 is where you find out the secrets of how all of this happened. And here's what you find out. Here's the truth, the bedrock, foundational truths that drive going clear. Couple of cans on a string, the e-meter. Here's what it is. Okay, I've written this down. Make sure I get it right. I wrote too much stuff down. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. About 75 million years ago, there was an alien named Xenu on the planet, I don't remember. Okay? And he decided to gather up all of the humans that lived on his planet and bring them to Earth. So he loaded up millions and millions of humans on spaceships with E.T. I'm kidding, E.T. wasn't there. E.T. is fake. This is real. Okay. So he loaded up millions and millions of humans, brought them to planet Earth, and flew the spaceships over volcanoes. Okay? And threw all of them into the volcanoes. All right? And then he dropped atomic bombs into the volcanoes. All right? So, your body is not your real body. Your body is called a thetan. Thetan. A thetan. We're all thetans. Okay? Trapped in these bodies. So Xenu dropped the people in the volcano, and their thetans, their souls, super mad because of volcano and the bomb stuff. Right? They were probably singing There's Another in the Fire. And all these mad thetans, these mad little souls, got dispersed because when the bomb went off, it blew them all over the planet Earth. When you're born, the second that you were born, these mad thetans, you're a thetan too, but the mad ones that got blown up 75 million years ago immediately attached to your body. So every part of your body is made up of a mad, blown up thetan thing. That's not a lisp. Thetan. There's a little thetans everywhere. And they're attaching to you. And that is what are the negative experiences in your life. But you don't know this until you get to level 3 because it's super secret. And if they told everybody up front, they would never hang out. But by the time you spent like 12 grand, it's like, I'm going to see this thing through, right? Now, going clear is the process by which an auditor finds the thetans hiding in your brain and makes them leave. When you get to level 3, you know who you're talking to and what you're talking to, and you go through a process called solo auditing where you learn how to go clear on your own. So you can read the e-meter, hold on to the cans, tell the story to yourself, wait till the meter bumps, and then demand that that thetan leave. Leave, thetan. You have no power here, thetan. Okay, I gotta stop. All right. That's level 3. So you also got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 when you get to the top. Now, as they go along in this process, there are many that have left. So some of the names that you might recognize of people that used to be or have dabbled in Scientology include Jerry Seinfeld, Brad Pitt, William Burroughs, Don Simpson, Katie Holmes. Remember Katie Holmes married to Tom Cruise? You know why they're no longer married? Scientology. She wanted to get her daughter as far away from this as she possibly could. Jason Lee, that's the actor from My Name is Earl. Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve was getting involved, played Superman. Was getting involved in Scientology and made up a bunch of stories from Greek mythology to see if the e-meter worked. And they started casting out his thetans from a story that he made up. And Lisa Marie Presley, Paul Haggis, who's a screenwriter, wrote some incredible movies, honestly. And Leah Remini, who a lot of us know was out of Scientology from King of Queens. You remember the lady, King of Queens? While she was making the show King of Queens, she was very much involved in Scientology. She became a Scientologist as a child, and her parents were involved in it. Her mom was actually allowed to go into her level 3 auditing thing where they gave her the suitcase and she read it all, and her mom was sitting there so excited that she was going to have these truths revealed to her. And Leah looked up and said, "Are you kidding me?" And left. It didn't take her long to leave. I think another 6 months before she actually left. Now, why do people do this? Why are people in this? The reason I wanted to give you a snapshot of that is I want you to understand how people start it. People start it by, these are the keys to your emotional health and your ability to be successful. Okay? So John Travolta and Tom Cruise are the most famous people that are Scientologists today. John Travolta was a Scientologist way back to the 70s. He joined the Church of Scientology, immediately got a commercial, ended up making Saturday Night Fever and things like that, and kind of stuck with it through that. Tom Cruise was in it for a while, almost while he was married to Nicole Kidman. The church, Nicole Kidman's dad was a psychologist in Australia. The Church of Scientology put private investigators on Nicole Kidman eventually to try to break them up because they knew that Tom Cruise wouldn't stay in the church if he stayed married to Nicole Kidman. I'm getting ahead of myself, but So how do people get involved and why do people stay in? Because they start as a self-help thing, 2750, and we're going to help you with your life, whatever. And then it becomes this really weird religion thing where Xenu threw everybody in here and these are our thetans and this is your spirit and how do you get in control of this? And if you stick with us long enough, you can control people, control things. That's why you watch interviews. Go watch interviews with Tom Cruise talking about Scientology. I mean, you look at him and go, this dude is nuts. He is off his rocker. There's got to be something wrong. He believes in insane things that have affected his life dramatically. From the houses he has to the way that his cars are tricked out. Church of Scientology does that stuff for him because he's their greatest ambassador. All right, so they take care of him. When after his divorce happened with Katie Holmes, David Miscavige, who's the head of the Church of Scientology, there are rumors, but from people in the administration who did it, who actually found Tom Cruise his next girlfriend, took a girl out of the Church of Scientology, told her that they had a top secret assignment for her, this wonderful assignment for her from the church, took her, gave her a makeover, showed up and dropped her off at Tom Cruise's house. A few months later, she made the head of the Church of Scientology mad. She was picked up by a Suburban, taken somewhere else, dropped off, and told to clean bathrooms with a toothbrush. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Why do people stay in this and where did this come from? This sounds insane. How did this become a religion? Interesting story, actually. There was a guy named L. Ron Hubbard. He is the founder of the Church of Scientology, okay? He's the one that started the whole thing. He was a Navy officer in World War II. He was removed and deemed unfit for leadership when he faked and lied and said he had torpedoed a bunch of Japanese submarines that didn't actually exist. And then he fired on an island during World War II, fired on an island owned by Mexico that we had absolutely no conflict with. He was relieved of his duties as a Navy officer. He told everyone that he had been wounded. I think he told everyone that he had been he'd been shipwrecked and lived in the ocean for months. And then they were actually able to get a hold of all his military records and found out that it was all a lie, that he had been basically dishonorably discharged by the military. What is interesting about, you go, okay, this stuff sounds super sci-fi and super weird. That's because L. Ron Hubbard owns the record for the most published books in the history of humanity because he's written over 1,000 science fiction books. Okay? That's what he did. He wrote sci-fi, which makes a lot of sense. In the 30s and 40s, he got heavily involved in the occult. His ex-wife tells stories about getting woken up in the middle of the night with him hitting her over the head with guns because she smiled in her sleep, and he said it was because she was dreaming about another man. This guy was nuts. All right. 1950, he wrote a book called Dianetics, which was supposed to be the modern explanation of mental health. Okay. Dianetics. If you show up at the Church of Scientology, when you get started, they'll sell you the book Dianetics for $25. It's the first thing that you have to do. And then part of what you do as a Scientologist is you're expected to buy and read all of L. Ron Hubbard's books. All right. He sent Dianetics to psychology departments, schools all over the country. They laughed at him because none of it made any sense at all. So he started a church. Okay? He wrote the book in 1950. Dianetics was being published and distributed by what was called the Dianetics Foundation. In 1952, it went bankrupt. So he started the Church of Scientology that kept all of the terminology, all of the concepts, and moved it over to a religion. It was around this time that he wrote all the Xenu planet stuff so he could pass it off as a religion. All right? In 1958 and in 1967, the two main branches of Scientology that he was trying to use as a religion had their nonprofit status as a church revoked. Okay? This started starting in 58, so it started something like a 50 or a 35-year battle between the Church of Scientology and the IRS about tax exempt status for the Church of Scientology. All right. In 1986, now what's happening is he writes Dianetics and he starts passing it off as a church. You can go clear, you can be healthy, you can do this from the beginning, and it was an inordinate amount of money to be part of it, but they're passing it off as we know the secret of what's wrong with you, what's wrong with society, what causes the wars. It's because there are these negative things, and what you are is you're an operating. If you can start this and you can do this, you can go clear, and you can become what's called an operating Phaeton. Okay, that's what you're called. You're an operating Phaeton. Once you get to level 8, level 8, you're able to control the world around you, and then you become what is more than a Phaeton. You're to the point now where you're just so in control. Nobody can tell you no. You get whatever you want. You do whatever you want. That's what you're trying to achieve. But the only way you can achieve what you're supposed to be as a human being is if you know about all these little evil things that got blown up in a volcano that are in your brain and on your body that you have to get rid of. And the great L. Ron Hubbard is the only one that knows how to do this. And now he trained the Church of Scientology, and they're the only people that can help you go clear and get clear of these things. So he's building up this idea, all right, with these followers, and the IRS gets wind of it and goes, this ain't a church, right? Like they're amassing millions of dollars, selling time for people to hold on to some cans to see if a needle moves so they can get rid of these evil Satan things that are hanging out, all right? It started a 35-year war. Now, in the early 80s, to run from tax evasion charges, to make sure he didn't get arrested, L. Ron Hubbard jumped on a boat and left the country. He ended up coming back to the country later and hiding out and all of this stuff. But along the way, throughout this process, there's a guy named David Miscavige that's the head of the Church of Scientology now. When they would shoot promo videos, commercials, things like that. David Miscavige had become part of the church when he was either 9 or 11 years old. His family had joined the church, and he became basically the administrative assistant to L. Ron Hubbard. Okay? The big boss guy. L. Ron Hubbard basically left the country. Scientology springing up everywhere, all everywhere. There are interviews of him where L. Ron Hubbard during this time actually told people, yeah, I made it all up. People will believe anything. You can listen to it. Okay? In 86, L. Ron Hubbard dies. Okay? I know this is fast forwarding. You can check all this out later. He dies. David Miscavige was like basically his assistant, had a little bit of a position, but there was no succession plan at all for the Church of Scientology. So David Miscavige basically jumps on the opportunity, goes up at a conference at the Church of Scientology, I believe it was in California, and he stands up and he says, L. Ron Hubbard has decided to leave his body behind and do his research and his writing outside of the prison of his body. He has moved to the next level of operating Satan. Then, David Miscavige tied up some loose ends in the writings and the doctrines of the church and took over. All right. And started what he called the war against the government. The Church of Scientology owed a little over $1 billion in back taxes. All right? They began what has been called the greatest espionage attack ever in United States history on officers inside the IRS. From tapping their phones, to breaking into government buildings and stealing records, to harassment, filming, hiring private investigators to follow government officials around. In 1993, I believe it was, the United States government, the IRS, David Miscavige walked into the head of the IRS, the United States, and when he left, the Church of Scientology had settled a $1 billion tax bill for $12.6 million. The deal included signing an NDA agreeing to not release all of the information that the Church of Scientology had on all of the government officials that had been investigating the church. All right? Part of there was something about that I wanted to tell you guys. It settled out for $12.5 million, what should have been $1 billion. Oh, and they were given tax-exempt status to like 156 different wings of the Church of Scientology. All right? At one point in time, the Church of Scientology they were second only to the Roman Catholic Church in the United States as far as real estate ownership or value of what they owned. But I'm not sure what the time frame was, and that may be bad information. That they do own $1.5 billion in assets, in real estate, actual real estate. What you have is a series of abuses that have gone on. So at one point, this guy Miscavige decided that he wanted more power. He needed to shake things up. And he built what's called the Hole, where he took all of the administrators from the Church of Scientology and locked them in there and would do incredibly abusive things. For instance, they had one thing where they would these are officers in the church, where he would put them in a chair, put an air conditioning unit over them, turn it on full blast, and begin to dump ice water on top of them for hours at a time. People that have left the church talk about being beaten with sticks by David Miscavige himself. They started something called the C organization, where kids that grow up in the church, if you want to be at the top level of serving the church and working in the church, you get to be part of the C organization, where you work for 40 cents an hour for the church. David Miscavige's dad lived on a compound in California that was owned by the Church of Scientology, and talks about metal bars with spikes going in both directions to keep people out and in. David Miscavige's father and his mother planned their escape from the compound owned by the Church of Scientology for 6 months in order to escape. You can find hundreds of hours of people talking about leaving the church and being chased. Church of Scientology buying or renting houses across the street and filming their lives to use it against it. So you go, why don't people leave? Every auditing time that you have where you spend $800 an hour is being recorded. When you start in the first 2 levels, you are required to and told to, before you know what this is actually about, before you know about Xenu, the flying princess alien, before you know about any of this stuff, you think that in order to achieve success and get emotional and mental healing, think about a 19-year-old actress in Los Angeles that had an abusive father that shows up in California, and a multi-millionaire says, do you want to be who I am? You got to go to the Church of Scientology and get clear to get rid of your emotional trauma. She shows up for 2 sessions to 2 steps to the ladder. She thinks she's telling a professional that cares about her all of her deepest, darkest secrets. You have to talk out loud everything you've ever done, everything you've ever thought, everything you've ever committed that could possibly have left a negative thing in your brain and in your body. And every single one of them is recorded. The Church of Scientology has a file on every person that has ever been to the Church of Scientology. Why doesn't Tom Cruise leave? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to. Or maybe he knows that they will push a button. The day he publicly says, I've left the Church of Scientology, they will push a button. That's what I forgot to tell you. Part of the whole IRS thing is the church had started over 2,500 lawsuits against individual workers and the IRS. So they were telling the higher-ups in their church, you do a lawsuit, you do a lawsuit, you do a lawsuit, you do a lawsuit. There were over 2,500 lawsuits on the books that would have existed for decades and decades and decades. And finally, the head of the IRS said, I can't put up with this anymore, just to make it all go away. The links, the abuses, David Miscavige's dad, Ron, and his wife planned their escape from the Church of Scientology for 6 months. There are dozens of people that have that story. Men that were officers in the church that ended up laying in the floor of a bathroom with a toothbrush, cleaning the bathrooms with the floor. Cleaning the bathroom floors with the toothbrush. This is what's going on. And it's all, now, you say, what's the motivation? Why are people doing it? One, they, by nature of the fake religion that was created, they have ultimate power over people because they have them by the promise of success in the beginning. We've got the secret. We got the secret for your guilt. We've got the secret for your pain. We got the secret for your lack of success. It's because there's something in your mind, but you don't hear about the crazy things that are latched onto you. You think you have bad thoughts, there's bad stuff in your mind. And then you've got to spend all this money, you've got to be part of it. Well, by the time you find out that you're talking about alien stuff, the church has a record of everything that you have ever done in your life. And they have proven over and over that they're willing to use it. There is a website. Every church officer that has ever left the Church of Scientology, you can find their name attached to a website that the Church of Scientology started in order to smear them. They've been called pedophiles, murderers, arsonists, and they'll just make stuff up and build entire websites on it. You talk about a cult and you talk about abuses of people. Okay, now, I think I dealt with some of the history of it. Essentially, a science fiction writer made it up to get rich because he got mad that the psychology experts in the United States wasn't paying any attention. Why does this matter? Why does it matter for a Christian church to talk about what Scientologists believe? Because between 8 and 15 million people believe that mess. This is the extent to which people will go to get answers. This is the extent that people will go to have power. Or to feel like there's something tangible that can promise them success in what feels like utter chaos. Powerful people, important people, desperate people, poor people. You can see endless stories of people that have $150,000 in loans because they keep getting loans to pay to the Church of Scientology so they can take the next step. Why do I need to take the next step? Because you're not going to know what the last one meant until you do the next one. Hundreds and hundreds of hours, thousands and thousands of hours. It's estimated that Tom Cruise has given this Church of Scientology over $1 million, not because he wanted to, but just in the auditing process. Like legit, I'm giving a church money so I can achieve my next step. It is the most successful con job that there is. It matters because we have, and let me be transparent for a second. It matters because we have people in the world that are so damaged by original sin, so damaged by their past, so damaged by their own confusion, by the chaos in their mind, that they'll grab a hold of anything that'll give them some semblance or some idea of peace. That's relevant for us. It's relevant for us because we can mock L. Ron Hubbard. We can mock David Miscavige. We can hope, frankly, that they get what's coming to them. The power that charismatic, very good, effective, charismatic liars have on people. The loyalty that they can build into people. And we see it on a regular basis in our own communities, where there is an attachment to a person or an attachment to an idea where we feel safe. It doesn't matter how insane it is. It doesn't matter how wrong it is. It doesn't matter how abusive it is. And it doesn't matter how many people get hurt. There's an idea that we've committed ourselves to. And something that is incredibly dangerous in the United States is what I call redneck loyalty. And redneck loyalty is, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter who you hurt. It doesn't matter why you're in the fight. It doesn't matter who you called what. My boy's in a fight, I'm going to fight too. Well, now there's just two idiots in the room. This idea has said that I have to be loyal to a person over truth and loyal to an individual over an idea. Jesus said, the Proverbs said, a man that walks with wise men shall be wise, and a companion of fools shall be destroyed. What has happened is we have built cult followings, sometimes in the name of Christianity, sometimes in the name of Scientology, sometimes in the name of Mormonism, sometimes in the name of Roman Catholicism. Pick one. But this cult thing, this idea that I committed myself to a man and it doesn't matter who he destroys, I'm going to stay loyal because I said I was going to do it a year ago, is destroying people. It's destroying people. And things like Scientology are preying on hurting people that are desperate to feel like they have purpose. As Mills River Church, it is so difficult because I want you to feel connected. I want you to feel like you're part of the family. I want us to change our community. I want us to reach people who have that level of hurt in their lives and in their hearts, and I want them to meet Jesus. And I want to be able to see it happen. But we have to do it because Jesus. We have to do it because we look at it and say, this is the truth. This is what they need, so this is what they're going to do. Not because I can figure out how to motivate you every Sunday to get through the next 6 days so you can stay fired up about the vision of Mills River Church. That idea that I motivate people to do something great is antithetical to the gospel and Scripture. And it is in line with every cult that exists in America. So when I say we're praying and thinking through how we do this, why? Because I respect you enough, we respect you enough to say this is a Jesus thing. And how Jesus authentically reaches people matters. And I was watching the time when David Miscavige got up and he said, L. Ron Hubbard has left his body and he's gone so he can study outside of it. And we're going to do incredible things and we're going to change the world and we're going to show people what can actually happen when you go clear. And a bunch of people stood up and started screaming. And I went, that's happening every Sunday morning in self-professed Christian churches. Whatever I got to say to motivate you, whatever I got to say to make you feel excited, whatever I got to say about God's doing a new thing. No, he's not. He's doing the same thing he was doing 2,000 years ago when Jesus ascended. He's taking dead people and bringing them to life. And if we get to have a small part in that, thank God. Thank God. But I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to push you. And thank the Lord, we don't need to. You guys are amazing and phenomenal, and I love you. It matters that we study this stuff because it matters that we say when we move forward, we are not trying to gain momentum, start momentum, get people so excited that they just can't be anywhere else. No, we want people to come here and make a decision. Do I want to hear the Bible or do I want somebody that's going to tell me what I want to hear? And if they want to learn the Bible, come on. And we want to love on them and we want to reach out in our community and do all those things. That's why it matters. We have got to know manipulation when we see it. And it happens every day, guys. We see it every day when we go, that's a really intelligent person. Why is he doing this? Why is he supporting that guy? He knows what that guy did to that guy. He knows what that person has done to 50 people. Why is he still there? Because he really thinks that loyalty is the greatest ethic. He really believes we have legitimately created a virtue out of selling your soul to another person and calling it loyalty. I don't need to be loyal to me or anyone else here. We got to be loyal to Jesus and the truth. That's why we're doing the false religion series. That's why we're praying, and that's why I'm so excited about you guys showing up and studying the Bible at 9:30, and we're going to study the Bible at 11, and we're going to worship, and we're going to worship loud. We're not going to pull people unwittingly into our religious sect and keep them super pumped up and excited. We got to do something real. And that looks like a life change, and that's when Jesus does it. I love y'all. Don't become a Scientologist. Check it out for yourselves. There's stuff everywhere. I tried to hit the high notes and hopefully make it relevant for you guys and maybe just pique your interest. If you do watch it, there's a lot of stuff on there, but a lot of the interviews get pretty profane and stuff, so some of it's not kid friendly. I know, because I spent the last 6 months watching them all. Let's pray and we'll go, okay? Jesus, I love you. Thank you so much for who you are. God, I want to pray for anybody that's watching this. Maybe this got sent to a Scientologist. And God, I just want them to know that we don't. There are people that are deceived every day. Satan's in the business of deception. And God, I pray that you will cause them to seek your truth, to know who you are, the actual creator of the universe, the one who loves them. They'll meet Jesus, the one who died for them. We love you, God. Help us to be so consumed with who you are, how we worship you, and the truth of your word that we won't be deceived by any of this junk. We love you. Amen.